Okay, so what this is basically an old ball roaster. This is what the farmer here has used for several years, I believe, to roast coffee. The story he told was roasting about 200 kilos of coffee, about 3 kilos at a time in this little guy, and it just sits on top of a fire or like a gas burner, and you just crank it with your hand and turn it around, spin it. He said he did 15-minute roasts, and yeah, 2 days long, did about 200 kilos of coffee, and it's pretty impressive. And the outcome of the coffee itself is not bad at all.
Okay, today we're going to talk about cold coffee. It's also called toddy or cold press. And really what I'm handing you here is going to change your life yet again if you are a coffee aficionado like me. I'm going to give away some industry secrets here today on the Yankee Prepper channel. I got a couple different batches, a large one and a small one. These are the batches that I use for my needs, and I'm going to go through this with you. It's a very simple process, but just for the sake of the video, I'm going to show you how I did it. Cold coffee or cold press, contrary to popular ignorant belief, is not hot brewed coffee simply cooled down. There is a process to it, and there is no heat involved in making cold press coffee. Cold pressed coffee is radically different as well in taste. Cold pressed coffee is going to give you a really rich, deep, earthy flavor of the coffee. It's actually, I would not say it is brewed, even though that term is used. It's more of an extract. In fact, cold pressed coffee, a quarter of a cup of cold press is equal to a full cup of brewed coffee. Now I could go on probably forever about coffee, and I could do hours and hours of a video about cold pressed coffee. But to keep this video reasonable, I'm just going to point out some of the major differences. I already said one of the things that are going to hit you the most about cold pressed coffee is the body. The body's going to be deep and rich and very earthy. It's going to be a major difference that's going to hit you right away, is just the taste between hot brewed and cold brewed. But cold pressed coffee has 70% less of an acidity level than hot brewed coffee. It just doesn't take the acid notes out of the coffee, so it's much easier on your stomach. Cold pressed coffee has almost none of the oils extracted out of the hot brew process, again being much easier on your stomach. Now, having said that, it doesn't mean that hot brewed coffee is hard on your stomach. But we have an epidemic of stomach problems related to a lot of things. It's mostly the way we're eating in the United States and our culture now, and also the stress level in this country. And I don't want to get into that, but I want to point that out, that cold coffee is just much easier on your digestive system because of those two reasons. That's another reason why, if I can add this in, that paper filters are superior, let's say, to a screen filter. I've talked to a couple people about this in the comment section when it's pertaining to the AeroPress, and they're saying that they bought the screen metal filter. Well, really what you've done is you've taken the best coffee maker in the world and turned it into a French press. And French presses are nice, but they keep all the oils. Paper filters are superior for filtering because they capture a lot of the oils that you don't want in your coffee. Now, having said that, I just want to point out that people with sensitive stomachs, the reason why they're having issues with coffee in the first place, the vast majority of them, is because the product that they're picking to drink is so crappy and so old that anybody with a sensitive stomach is going to have issues with it in the first place. And then on top of that, put in the fact that, some people are drinking pots of this old, crappy coffee every day, just because it has a fancy label on it. And then they're wondering why they have acid reflux or this spike in acid reflux in the United States and all these corn syrup products, all this crap that they're putting into their body. And I don't know why anybody's surprised that they're having problems with this. If you're drinking good quality coffee, all right, you're not going to have those issues. Coffee originally was thought of as a medicinal product in the first place, and I can tell you it has a ton of health benefits. But getting back to cold coffee, I'm trying to stay on course here. Cold coffee is much easier on your digestive system, and it has a radically different taste. You don't use cold press, let's say, to cup coffees or taste different coffees, because you're not going to bring out all the notes of the coffee. In fact, in all of the major big name brand coffee stores, you know, I'm not going to mention their names, but all the big ones out there, this is how I'm going to show you today how they do it. And they usually use just one heavy bodied coffee. When I owned my shops with a franchise, we always used Sumatra. We would make 5-gallon batches at a time, where we take a 5-gallon bucket, we grind up 4 to 5 pounds of coffee. Half of it was usually Sumatra or Guatemala, some heavy bodied coffee, and then we would take 2 or 3 pounds of the oldest coffee we had, just so that way we could use that to move the older coffees through, so we wouldn't have any waste. And we used to split it up, but you always have a base of some heavy bodied coffee to start with. Sumatra, Guatemala, Celebes, something that's got a real rich body to begin with. Okay, I think I've covered what I wanted to with cold pressed coffee. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Of course, I'll try my best to get back to you. I'm not always the best at that. But why don't we start off with the small batch, the quart jar first. You get, you know, using a full container, even when we were using the 5-gallon container at our shop, you know, you're usually going to walk away after the brewing process is done with about 2.5 gallons of product. And with these, you'll have a little over half in each one. It's very concentrated. This is the main ingredient in all those really expensive drinks at the coffee shops, all the frozen drinks. This is what gives it that extra, like, secret punch to the drink itself. And it is fairly expensive at the shop. I mean, we would sell a large cold pressed coffee for $4. And what I'm going to show you here is how to make the small batch first and then the large batch. And you can see it's pretty easy to do. Coffee grounds to do it, but remember, it's an extract. It's very concentrated. Although I do like to drink it straight. So here's a small batch first. I use a quart jar to make a small batch. You know, the ratio again is about 1 cup of coffee to 3 cups of water. So just take a cup of coffee, grind it on coarse. Add your ground cup of coarse coffee. And fill up with cold water. Before I fill it all the way up, I like to put the cap on and just get all the grounds wet. And fill it the rest of the way. Okay, after sitting overnight or for at least 12 hours, take another separate quart jar. Helps to have a funnel. Put your strainer in. Take your cold press or your cold toddy and strain it through. Don't throw that away. Save it and put it into your garden. Now I've rinsed out the cheesecloth to use again. This makes it a lot easier to clean the grill as well. And I'm left with a little over half a quart of cold toddy. Now that will last up to 3 weeks in the refrigerator, but for a small batch like this, I can't imagine it's going to last more than a couple days. So that's how you make your small batches. I just use that quart like I showed you, and you know, I'll use that if I'm doing a road trip or something where I just want to carry a small quart with me. In the summertime, when it starts to get warmer and we actually want cold press around the house, I mean, it makes sense to make it in larger batches. This is the recipe I'll use. Okay, a pound of coffee will yield about 6 to 7 cups of ground coffee. And then I'm going to add 18 to 20 cups of water into that. I'm going to stir this to make sure it's all wet. I'm going to put a lid on this, stick it in the refrigerator again overnight or for 12 hours. Okay, after 12 hours, we're just letting it sit in the fridge overnight. That's what I've got, and I'm going to strain it out into my refrigerator container. I try to get the last bit of liquid. That's what I'll end up with. And that's the yield that I got from that batch recipe, and I can keep this in the refrigerator up to 3 weeks and take it out as I need it in that container. Coffee grounds can be dumped right onto your soil around your plants. I've seen huge success with this. It helps it adds to the nutrients of your soil, helps your plants grow. So again, don't waste this. Just add it to your soil around your plants. This is a row of sunflowers that I grow for the chickens, and I have definitely noticed the difference in adding coffee grounds. They grow a lot bigger. The sunflower heads are a lot bigger, and the stalks are much thicker. They don't fall over. Alright, so that's how you make a big batch. And now the part I've been looking forward to. This is how I like to drink it. I'll take a small glass filled with ice, and this is the cool part. Just take a little cream to top this off. I think this is almost more for aesthetics than anything else. Just slowly pour it in the top and let it sink in. This is how we used to serve it at the shop. Check that out. And the extract is so thick it'll just float around in there like smoke. It's pretty cool. Try this out. Oh, I'll tell you, that is a totally different coffee experience. I got to tell you, I'm really enjoying these coffee series videos and sharing them with the people that appreciate them. This is really cool. You know, I mean, my first video that I put up on my channel 3.5 years ago was on coffee, and I don't know. It's really cool to come full circle to this, and I love sharing it with you guys. And you know, thanks a lot for everybody for the orders. This has opened up a whole new world for me on YouTube, and it's a blast. And I have a lot more info to share with you on this as well. But here's how you make cold press. This is how all the coffee giants do it. This is the one they charge, you know, the big bucks for. You can make it at home pretty easy, and it is well worth it. You know, when the weather gets hot, to have a little jolt like this, it's pretty nice. Anyway, guys, take it easy.